This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic. Hello, bright soul. Thank you so much for joining me on another podcast. And you might be able to hear it in my voice, but I have a huge smile on my face because I am so grateful to all of you who have taken the time to leave me kind feedback, reviews, and donations. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. My podcasts are very raw. They're not really edited. They don't have high production value. It's just me and my microphone sharing what's on my heart, sharing what I'm noticing, my experiences. And you all are really sweet about it, and I really appreciate it. And there's been times where I thought I'm not going to do this anymore, but I continue to do it because of the feedback I get about how it helps. And if it only helps one person, then it was worth it. So I wanted to start out with gratitude for all that you do and who you are and showing up. And I'm going to go right into the topic for today, and that is dating in the light. Now, the reason why I want to go over this is because whether you are currently dating or you're about to start dating, I've done another podcast on dating as a spiritual person a couple years ago, but it's going to be different for you. And I know because I am walking the same path you are, and it's different for me. So I'm going to share with you some things that I'm personally experiencing and what I see in my client base, and you can take whatever resonates. And if it doesn't resonate, click off and go find something that does. I'm sharing my personal experience to try to help you navigate just as I'm doing. First things first, let's just put this in perspective. How many people do you know that are on the same path as you and doing the work that you're doing? Probably not that many. I mean, we know each other, right? But when you're talking about mass collectiveness, the mass collective consciousness, how many people are on this path? Not very many. So when you're looking for a partner, I don't know what your specific desires are, and whatever you want is perfectly okay. If it's in you to have it, you desire it, you can have it as long as you match those same qualities and you're in alignment. So, and I've talked about that before, and people got really annoyed because I was saying you have to actually meet the standard that you want. For example, there was years ago where a friend of mine would say, I want to meet a man that would motivate me to go to school. And so she's putting an external thing on someone else, which is already setting herself up for failure, and him for that matter. And of course it didn't work. I mean, she didn't find it. This was years ago. And so part of it is making sure that you meet the standard that you have for others. That's the very first thing. And that doesn't have anything to do with our spiritual practice, but it is just a basic thing that you want to make sure you're clear on before you're looking for a partner. Because to expect someone else to do something or meet something that you personally don't meet is really unrealistic. And there needs to be a vibrational alignment here. So, you know, like if I'm a really pessimistic person, but I want someone really positive, we're polar opposites. And in the energy world, that isn't going to align. And so there's always an energy component to it. And people will say, no, opposites attract and this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about that. I'm an energy healer. I'm looking at things from an energetic perspective. So there's a lot that I could talk about on this topic. And I've done another podcast on dating as a spiritual being. It was something to that effect a couple of years ago, and you can find it on my Spotify or iTunes, or just search for it in my podcast on my YouTube channel. But what I want to just first start off with is that you and I are rare. Okay, so we are not the majority. So what we're looking for in a partner is probably going to be different than what the masses would accept. And it may not be for you. You know, for me, as someone who's actually on this path and I actually do the work and I'm a healer, my selection process and my dating pool is very narrow, and I'm okay with that. It's been like that for decades, really. Over the years, people say, "Oh, you're just too picky," or, you know, I've been told this. You know, you're not going to find anyone because you're so picky. Plot twist: I always find someone, and I'm picky. And it's just you getting clear on what it is that you want and what is in resonance with you. And there's billions of people on the planet. Okay. So if you're only asking for one, there's one, but you have to send that consistent signal out that you're not going to accept something that's not aligned. So you're trying to get something in alignment. And you have to sort. Dating is sorting. It's like everything else. And so what I get is my clients will say, oh, well, they'll date someone and then they get their hopes up and then the person reveals themselves and then they get upset. And I get it. I mean, it's not fun. I mean, it can get exhausting. I know it can get exhausting. And I'm only laughing because I have been in this same situation, and you have to have some humor about it because we're all doing it. I mean, this is the way it goes. And I know there are exceptions. There'll be someone that gets on there and say, oh, well, I met my person. Good for you. I'm talking to the rest of us. And I'm not saying it can't happen. But what you have to understand is you as a light worker, you as a light-filled being, your aura is probably brighter than people that you're dating. I'm not saying it's always the case. It is always the case for me for some reason. Well, I know the reason. Because of the work I'm doing, there isn't very many people that are doing the same work, especially not men. And the type of men I'm attracted to, it's a very specific, precise, it's a precise thing. And I won't accept what's not aligned. And so this is why I take my time, and I don't mind being single because I'm never really alone. I'm always with my guides and helpers and all those kinds of things. And my life is very fulfilled outside of a relationship. I've always said for years, a relationship is an accessory. I could have it or not. I'm going to be just fine. But also because, I get my guidance in solitude. So I need that. I need a good mix of space between relationship and being alone. And so I'm a very unique individual. So it's going to require a unique partner for me. Dating in the energy that's going on in the world right now is really fascinating. And I've had lots of conversations with it in private sessions, or about this in private sessions. So here is what I'm noticing. Because of my light shining so brightly, when I get to actually go on a date with someone, they will reveal themselves pretty quickly, and they can't help themselves because it's like the light shining pulls things out. And you may notice this. And so I really want to talk about this because I don't want you to feel like there's something wrong with you or it's personal, because this is just the way that it goes. So I will sit down with someone, even on the phone, actually. It's been happening even on the phone. So I'll talk to someone on the phone, and all of a sudden they just start telling me all this stuff. I mean, and it's also who I am as a person. It happens just at the grocery store, but they'll start telling me all these things about themselves, like their finances, their past relationships. And I'm just listening. This isn't like we've talked a lot. This will be like the first encounter. And they'll say, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. And I think, I know why you're telling me all this. For one, God's got my back. So I'm going to hear the things that I need to hear in the beginning because I am part of the light team. That's number one. Number two, they can't help themselves because of who I am. There's a purge that takes place. And that's also just because of the work that I do. And so what I do is I listen. I just listen. I pay attention. I listen, and I let them share what they need to share. And I go inside my body and feel what I feel like in my body. And this would be my suggestion to you. This is an exercise in getting really good at feeling into what's aligned for you, because our bodies will tell us what feels good and what doesn't feel good for us. So I went on this date with this guy. Well, I think we were on date 8. We've been dating for a little bit. We were on like date 8. And I started noticing, okay, wait, let me back up. Around date 6, and this is a person who doesn't drink. Like, I have very rare specific qualifications, and it works for me. I mean, I need to sort, because if someone's going to be in my inner circle, some certain things have to be there because of who I am. So, he said he didn't drink, and, he's like this spiritual person, and we talk a lot about God and all these other things. But, my spiritual cord and my practice is more advanced than his, which is usually the case for me dating men. And so I'm used to that, but it doesn't mean that they can't be pulled along or they can't evolve quickly. So if the other things are in place, I'm willing to just see where that goes. So he said he didn't drink or anything like that. And so we were on a date, and he asked me if I wanted to order some liquor. And I said, well, no, I don't drink. Do you drink, or do you want some? And he's like, well, no, I haven't binged in a while. Excuse me? You haven't binged in a while? What? So the word really caught me. because I'm like, whoop, there's those seeds of addiction. They're coming out and I could see it. And I'm like, okay, so this guy has had some addiction issues. And I think they're past, but because he's spending time with me, they're starting to come out. And so I'm like, be vigilant, be vigilant and be kind. And I was. I mean, I got to date 8 with him before it crashed. But what I'm telling you is this is the beauty, like I said in the previous podcast, is taking your time and paying attention. It's just like this. So, for those of us with fair skin, so, there's these things called sunspots from being out in the skin. It's where your skin gets damaged from being out in the sun. When you're not in the sun and it's the wintertime, you don't see those spots. They're dark spots, right? But you don't see them. But as soon as you start going out into the sun, they start showing up and they start coming to the surface and they get darker and darker. And it's the same thing with people's stuff when they're sitting in your light. Whatever was underneath the aura, the layers, it starts to come out. That's why I talk about just being around someone like me. Your stuff's going to start coming out because of the light that is inside me, because of the work I've done. It's not me by myself. It's the work that I've done, and it's the mission that I'm on. It's what I've agreed to do, the service that I'm in. And so you'll find that they just start throwing up all their stuff on you, and they don't even realize they're doing it. They don't even realize it. And so this same guy, I'm like, that's interesting, but I didn't say anything. And so I made it to 2 more dates with him. And on the 8th, I think it was the 8th date or something, he tried to come in close to me. And he got into my inner aura, like he came really close, like he was going to kiss me. And I instantly got nauseous. And that was it. I mean, I can't do it. His energy is in contrast to mine. And so, and other things happened. And, and then he admitted to me that he used, be an alcoholic. And so I'm like, you used to, or you still, there's something there. I could feel it. And I trust my body and I trust my intuition. And I think that is the biggest thing, you as a light worker who is dating other people, is pay attention to how you feel, because there's this pattern of overriding your intuition, feeling like you're too sensitive, giving people the benefit of the doubt, when actually you're right in alignment and you're seeing things accurately. And so this is an exercise in trusting yourself. Divine timing in all things. It's also a lesson in patience and just realizing that God has your back. You might meet people with characteristics that are similar to other relationships that didn't work out, that you've tried to move past. If it shows up again, it's showing up to see if you're going to say no or handle it differently this time. That's the only way we know that we've grown. And I will say, when I started dating again this time, I am not aligning with the same type of people at all. It's completely different. And I've shared in previous podcasts is that my relationships are not the same. They're not the same people over and over, because I do the healing work in between and I get really clear on what worked, what didn't work, and what I'm trying to align to. And then I just say no to the things that aren't in alignment. And then I'm just patient and I wait and I do my work. And so there's some great people out there. And remember, what you seek, it's also seeking you. What you want wants you. It's about being in alignment and trusting the process, all things in divine timing. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, let's just say that you meet someone and everything is great and you don't have any flags, because this has happened to me too. So you're going in, you're feeling good about it, and then things start to surface later. Sometimes I'll get the question where people would say, well, how come your intuition didn't tell you? Because if we weren't supposed to ever experience anything, what's the point of being here? Sometimes you're led into that situation and you don't see things that other people can see because you're not supposed to see it yet. There's a lesson there. There's something to learn. There's an experience. And so trying to get angry at yourself or upset at God because there was things there that you didn't see is insane, because then why would we be here? There would be no reason to be here. And so the way that I look at that is, well, there was something there for me to learn. I was there for a reason. It could be anything. It could be clearing karma. It could be something from a previous, life with someone that we're clearing up. There's always a reason. And I just trust fully that I'm always being guided. And I've had other situations where everything's going great and then the person turns quick. They reveal themselves like something weird and they turn quick. That was divine protection. That was always divine protection for me. It's really the way that you choose to look at it. Because of the path that I'm on, I believe everything I always believe I'm being protected. But you can believe whatever you want. my thing would be, how does that make you feel when you believe those things? Because when I take the stance of, I'm doing good work and that good work is going to come back to me. And if I'm showing up in a relationship and I'm treating people with kindness and respect and I'm in integrity and I'm ethical and I'm only responsible for my behavior. I can't control other people. So if I'm doing all of those things, then I'm aligned and I'm on my path. And how other people behave, that's their karma. How I react is mine. And so, and I'm not saying we don't slip and get upset. I'm not saying any of that. But what I'm saying is that if you are staying on your path and you're aligned, then you have to know and trust that everything is going to be working out for you and that God has your back. And sometimes the beings can step in and remove people because they see things that you don't see. They hear conversations that you don't hear. As long as you are aligned and you're connected, it's going to be okay. So be patient, have fun, and I hope some of this helped. I know it's a little bit all over the place and I'm not as organized in my thoughts as I normally would be. It's been a journey. I got a baby girl in college and it's been a lot here lately. So I appreciate you listening to the end, and let's go into a healing. You can uncross your arms and legs and I will turn the healing on. I am cutting cords, so just breathe, relax. Okay, and so it is. Friends, if you haven't left me a review on iTunes, I would so appreciate it. And if you're not on my mailing list, you can do so over at blendedinsight.com. Right on the front page, it says subscribe to my newsletter. I think it's what it still says. And that's all I have. I wish you a beautiful week. Take care. Bye-bye.